most trustless name in news.
Bitcoin is nearly 87% of the way to the halving, yet many people aren't bullish. They are turning cold and bearish regarding the crypto markets. They're getting distracted by the media and war, seeing the markets turn red, which makes them believe it's over for crypto. There won't be another parabolic cycle. Well, let me tell you, Bitcoin is perfectly on track for another cycle, and this video will prove it to you, because it's time for Chico Crypto. Everyone was expecting a war crash for Bitcoin, but that has not happened. Bitcoin is holding the key support level between 27K to 27.5K. This level in the past provided an area of resistance, but since October and the breakthrough, it has been providing an area of support. People need to understand the only way to fund war, aka banker greed, is to inflate fiat currencies. And inflation only speeds up fiat currency's demise. Just ask the Romans what happened to their empire. So don't get distracted by geopolitics. Don't let geopolitics cloud your judgment. Bitcoin was built for this, and Bitcoin is perfectly on track for another cycle. Why is Bitcoin perfectly on track? Well, the number one thing we need to talk about is the Bitcoin halving. If you don't know the significance of the Bitcoin halving, let me explain. This is a time when the block reward of Bitcoin for the miners is cut in half. Bitcoin block rewards started at 50, were cut in half to 25 in 2012, then to 12.5 in 2016. In 2020, the rewards were cut to 6.25, and next year, sometime in 2024, we are being cut down to just 3.125 BTC per block. The reality of the scarcity of Bitcoin sets in once the halving happens. And in the past, after the halving, Bitcoin goes on a wild bullish ride. Checking out the first halving, which happened in November of 2012, Bitcoin was just $12. And in just over a year, by the end of 2013, BTC peaked over $1,200. The second halving happened July of 2016, and the price was $648. Well, in just over a year, by the end of 2017, BTC was over 20K. Finally, the third halving, which happened in May of 2020, BTC was 9K. Well, in just over a year, by the end of 2021, BTC hit $69,000. The proof is in the pudding. BTC after the halving goes ballistic. But I said, Bitcoin is perfectly on track for this coming up halving right now. Where is the data that proves just that? Well, as we can see, there is not consensus on when the Bitcoin halving will be. One place says 168 days, another says 189. This one says 177, and finally there are even estimates as high as 198 days. This is due to many factors for the halving, like mining difficulty, block times, etc., etc. So we are just going to take the average and estimate the halving will take place in about 180 days. So what was the Bitcoin price like 180 days away from the halving in the previous two cycles? In 2015, when BTC was 180 days from the 2016 halving, the BTC price was 65% down from the all-time high. Skipping to the next cycle in 2019, when BTC was 180 days away from the 2020 halving, the BTC price was 60% down from the all-time high. Now that we are in 2023, 180 days away from the 2024 halving, I wonder how much Bitcoin is down in price since the all-time high. Would you believe it? BTC is down 61%. When you look at this chart as a whole, it becomes clear as day. Bitcoin and where the price is today is perfectly on track compared with the previous cycles. But what about the opposite? What percent is Bitcoin up from the cycle low 180 days before the halving? Well, Bitcoin hit a low of around $200 in January 2015, 180 days before the 2016 Bitcoin halving, which was in January of 2016. Bitcoin was sitting at around $379. From the bottom to 180 days before the 2016 halving, BTC had increased by 89%. Jumping to the next cycle, Bitcoin hit a low of 3,200 in December of 2018. 180 days before the 2020 halving was in November of 2019, and Bitcoin was sitting at around $7,000. From the BTC bottom to 180 days before the 2020 halving, BTC had increased by 118%. Finally, we are at our cycle. Bitcoin hit a low of around 15,000 in November of last year, 2022. We are now 180 days away from the 2024 halving, and Bitcoin is sitting at about 27,500. This is an increase from the low of 83%. Once again, Bitcoin is perfectly on track when compared with the previous cycles. There's one final chart we need to check out. This shows that we are basically 86.5% of the way to the halving. And it shows the previous cycle's price 86.5% of the way to the halving. In all the previous cycles after this point, the Bitcoin price went on a rally. On the way up to the first halving, this happened. On the way up to the second halving, it happened. The only cycle where there was a major dump on the way to the halving was the third. This happened in March of 2020. But that was because entire economies shut down for a bit because of the Rona panic. That isn't going to happen again. In my opinion, no black swan event this cycle. And the Bitcoin price is going to maybe have some turbulence in the short term, but by the end of the year, we're going to see very nice prices. I've actually predicted the price for the end of the year in a video posted a month and a half ago, and I still hodl that prediction. Let's listen in now. Here is Chico Crypto's Bitcoin prediction for the end of the year. I predict $38,000 January 1st, 2024. I believe 38K by the end of 2023. If you want to understand how I came to that prediction, the full video is in the description. But what's the Bitcoin price going to be on the day of the halving? Well, there are many predictions out there from many different types of people. First, let's begin with Plan B, the creator of the Bitcoin stock to flow model. They tweeted just last month their prediction. They said, "To be clear, I still stand by my January 12th prediction. November 2022, 15.5K was the bottom. Bitcoin will rise towards the 2024 halving. BTC already rose from 18K to 27K since January 12th. 2024 halving will be above 32K, somewhere between 32K and 66K. Plan B doesn't want to make a real guess, but puts forward a range, somewhere between 32K and 66K. Then there's Adam Back, who some people think is Satoshi, but now is the founder of many well-known Bitcoin companies. He has an extremely bullish prediction. Let's listen in now.
Well, I think it's possible that we get to, a new all-time high, like 100,000 or more, even before the halving, simply for the reason that the last few years have been kind of a depressed market in general and in the crypto market through, a number of bankruptcies and DeFi failures, things like that.
Do you really think $100,000 is achievable in Bitcoin before the halving event? There's no fear that you're very resolute on that?
Yeah, actually, I infamously took a small bet with somebody on Twitter on that. It was just some conversation about whether it would happen or not. And this fellow said, well, let's bet on it. So I let him pick the price. And so we're on. Let's see if it happens.
Adam Back, who has been around Bitcoin for a long time, believes 100K BTC will be hit before the halving. And he even took a bet on this. And finally, what is my personal prediction? Well, in that same video I posted a month and a half ago, I predicted an exact price for the 2024 BTC halving. Let's listen in now. Thus, the average, in my opinion, is a solid gauge. And that is my prediction for the halving, around $48,000 average. My prediction based on prior cycles is $48,000. And again, if you'd like to understand how I came to that prediction, the video is in the description, also in the tag above. Well, viewers, what is your prediction for the halving? Are you extremely bullish like Adam Back? Are you optimistically bullish like me? Are you bearish? Or are you just going to put in a big range and if it's hit, say you're right like plan B? Let me know down in the comments and don't forget to subscribe if you already haven't. Cheers, viewers. I'll see you next time.
The most trustless name in news.